Alrighty, coming from the great American Southwest, from the very low desert, good morning, good evening to all my listeners around the world. We are back here at the Sabbath at Midnight, and today I have guest Matthew right here. Go ahead and say hi, buddy.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be on Sabbath at Midnight.
No problem, man. Thank you for reaching out and being able to come out and tell your story. So I really appreciate that. So without further ado, we're just gonna get into this show. We're doing it a little different. I'm gonna start doing YouTube videos now, so you can get a look at the people who are talking and me, and I don't know, just kind of make it more personal, I guess. Try something different. It's also gonna go on Spotify too. So, anyways, so moving forward, please like us on Instagram, Facebook. We're on YouTube now. TikTok, every single one. We're on all the platforms. Just look up Sabbath at Midnight. There's only one Sabbath at Midnight. So go ahead and look us up. And if you have a story like my friend Matthew here, go ahead and DM me on any of those platforms and I will respond right away. So let's get into this show. Let me see. Let me get my sound effects in. Gotta do the lightning. It has to happen. All right, Matthew. So I didn't tell the audience anything about what we're going to talk about. We're going to give that little preview in the title. Let's give them a little surprise. So go ahead and start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what we're going to be talking about.
All right. Well, my name is Matthew. Right now I'm living in Idaho, and the story takes place about 2011. And this happened to me and a couple of sailors. So let me kind of set the stage a little bit. During this time, I was kind of had an odd profession, and I specialized in what's called traditional bosunry. And so I traveled around from these ship to ship, but really they're historical replicas, basically, but they're fully operational. The rigging above deck is about 90% accurate. And so just so you guys have an idea, if you've seen the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, the first movie, you've seen the boat that this story took place on. And in that movie, Johnny Depp and Orlando Bloom, they steal this British ship named the HMS Interceptor. And it's the fastest ship in the British Navy and stuff. And so this is the same boat. But one night we were off the coast of Washington, and it was late at night. Can't remember what time exactly, because we weren't really expecting to see anything. Really, we're just on watch. So we had a person on the helm, and on the lady they have a big tiller, and so the tiller is probably 6-7 foot long, and it takes at least one person, but depending on the weather, it can take 2 people to be on just to keep it under control. And I remember this transit in particular. The weather was pretty bad. Probably 15-foot seas, something like that, 10 to 15-foot range. So, pretty big seas. And because of that, we were motoring underway, and instead of sailing, a lot of times we would set sail and cut the engine, and really would do that just to save on fuel. And it was a lot of fun because we had, we were all professional sailors. Like, that's what we were there to do, is sail these traditional ships, and we just loved it. So, but at this time we were under motor, just trying to keep the schedule and whatnot. But I remember up on the bow, we had on both port and starboard side of the deck, we had lifelines rigged up. And so before a transit, if we had a suspicion that the weather might get rough on us, we would rig up those lifelines. And it was kind of an unspoken thing that if we're underway and it's rough seas and whatnot, that we would rig those up. And if you come on deck, you'd wear a climbing harness. And then that way, when you're traversing the deck, you can clip in. That way nobody goes overboard inadvertently. And so that's kind of important because we were on deck. We had a person on the tiller, and then most everyone else is really just kind of out looking on the horizon. And usually what you're looking for is bubbles of light. So you're just kind of keeping an eye out for other ships. And if you can see into the water, which when you're out at sea at night, it's a special kind of dark out there. So looking into the water is kind of like looking into a barrel, so, but you still glance out there and keep an eye for containers maybe that fell in the water, or deadheads is what we call them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the duties on watch. We'd go circle the ship and whatnot, and then on the hour, every hour, we would go and do a boat check, and we would check the bilges and whatnot. So we're just doing a standard watch, and at one point, me and someone else, I'm pretty sure we saw him at the same time, because we looked up and there was someone up on the bow. And this is a real traditional kind of, I should actually go back when we would have customers on the weekends. We would take people out and go sailing and stuff, and then during the week we would have school children on, and we would teach classes on what it was like to be a sailor back in the 1700s. And so we would dress up in period clothing, the baggy clothes and the waistcoat and stuff. And so that it wasn't odd really to see somebody wearing that, but on this transit, it was odd. And so we looked up and there was someone on the bow, just on the starboard side of the mast up by the windlass, and in full 1700s garb. We called them funnies. So when we're on the boat and we needed to get in dress, like period clothing, we'd say, okay, we're going to get our funnies on. And so anyways, I'm looking up there and I see this, presumed at the time, I thought it was just one of our crew members smoking a pipe. We saw the glow, every time he drew on it, we could see his light, his face and shoulders kind of light up and whatnot. And at this point, kind of what was going through my head was, dumb, like, what are you doing up on the bow? The weather was so bad that we were actually scooping water up from the bow. And so it's, under normal circumstances, it's totally acceptable for someone to be up there, half the crew smoked, so it's no big deal. But given the circumstances, I was like, this guy, needs to come back here. And it was so windy. And when these ships, when you're on them, they have somewhere between 4 to 6 miles of rigging. So these between an inch, lines running through blocks and whatnot. And when you add 50 mile an hour, 60 mile an hour gust of wind, it starts reverberating, and it's so loud. Actually, a lot of times it sounds like a woman screaming, and hollering, and it can get pretty wild. But there was really no point in yelling at him, because I don't think he could have heard me if it was a crew member. So I ended up sending one of the other people that was on watch with me to go and tell them, hey, just come back to the quarterdeck, and smoke back here, because we were all clipped in on whatever we could, and we're hanging on to anything solid. And so just out of safety, we're saying, hey, come back here. And crew member went up, circled around, looked around, and there was nobody up there. And so they came back and told me, and I look in, and sure enough, I don't see anybody. And it actually kind of spooked me out, because I'm thinking in my brain, potential man overboard.
I was about to say, you probably thought he was dead and went overboard.
Yeah. And in this kind of scenario, the Lady Washington has a Detroit diesel engine on it, and so it's got pretty decent power. But if you have a really good headwind and a head sea, I've been in situations where we're full ahead and doing a knot or two backwards, so just getting pushed back and back. And the point is, if you go in the water in that kind of situation, the boat can't get to you. So you're either done for, unless you can bodily swim back to the boat. So the safety alarms are going off in my head, and we triggered a boat check. And so they went down, they started in the forecastle, which is where the majority of the crew lives. And each compartment on the ship is separated. So the living quarters up front is up on the bow. It's called the forecastle, and the foremast actually runs right through the center of it. And then there's 8 bunks, so quite a few people can stay in there. And he went down in there and actually moved the curtains and got a head count and physically checked to make sure everybody was in their bunks. Did that in the main hold, and then we also did that in the aft cabin quarter. Just did a quick check, and everybody was accounted for, which was good. But then it kind of raised some questions like, what did we just see? You know, who could have possibly been up there? And then the questions started rolling in, because we for sure saw somebody,
Yeah, absolutely.
in period clothing smoking a pipe. And you know, it was nighttime, but we for sure saw, you know, a bodily figure up there.
Like, was it did it have a face to it? Was it just like the distorted face, too far away to see, or
Too far away and too dark to see?
oh,
But I could definitely see the outline of like a waistcoat with the baggy arms. Looked just exactly like our funnies that we wore
so
when we'd get dressed up.
yeah, for people who listen to this, I'm pretty sure there's people out there that are experts on this, you know, on that history. That's why we put it out there. Maybe
I'm sure.
see it, they're gonna say, "Hey, that's, you know, Captain so and so, General so and so." But yeah,
Right.
that's very that's kind of creepy. I mean, because after that, your mind's just going like, is someone dead? Did someone get left out in the middle of the sea? Maybe someone snuck in on the boat. You know, that's someone anxiety. So
Right.
but after that, what was the whole like the vibe on the boat? Did anybody say anything like saw something before this, or?
We talked about it. We kind of named him the Midnight Watchman. Was the name that I think someone else came up with that, but it just seemed like a fitting name. I mean, he really looked like a crew member on watch. The setting was perfect, it being on a tall ship and seeing someone in 1700s garb, you know, out at sea. The interesting thing is the weather was so bad, none of us would have worn funnies
Yeah,
or period clothing. And so we were all in modern, you know, zip up foulies and just trying to stay warm because it's extremely cold out there. And so that didn't make sense that anyone would put their funnies on, come up and smoke a pipe, you know, up on the bow when the bow is getting hammered with water. I don't even know how you could have kept it lit, you know,
that's another thing
being
too.
up there. And also, I might add, the deck is awash too. Like there's water running across the main deck, and anybody would just naturally want to come back
Yeah, absolutely.
to the aft section.
Yeah, I mean, being up there, that kind of weather is just insane.
Yeah.
That whole thing, though, did you have any? Like, is that the first and only experience you had with something that was out of the ordinary?
Not so. After that, I always heard stories. People on different boats would have encounters. They would see people, or a lot of times they would hear people walking on deck, and a lot of stuff that you could kind of discount as, you know, someone just was walking on deck above you. You couldn't see them, but I've heard footsteps above me that I couldn't count for, but I don't really count that as like a paranormal
That's still scary, though.
thing.
Boat, dude. To me, that's even scary because you're on a boat. So if you're like, you know, whatever, you're staying in an apartment, you know, you would take a trip to New York and you hear someone walking around outside of your door in your house or your apartment, whatever, you're gonna assume it's a human. But when you're on a boat
Yeah.
in the middle of the ocean and you have whatever 3 people on the boat and all 3 of you are on the bottom and you hear someone walking on top, that's scary because where the hell did this thing come from? Because we're in the middle of
Right.
the ocean. That's what's scary about it because there's no
Well, after that, I
see from something of a source that's not normal that got there.
true that. After seeing this thing, this, I mean, I don't know what to call. I guess just an entity or an
kind of
individual.
ghost. Yeah, some kind of
Um,
apparition of some kind
yeah, an
of
apparition.
demonic
But it
sort. Because I
makes
don't
you wonder if there was. Did you say demonics?
no, yeah, I see. I think it's something evil or something just trying to play tricks on you because my belief, everyone has their own belief. My belief is biblical, and there's just no to me, there's just no such thing as ghosts like hanging out humans. Like I don't believe like when you die as a human, you can just tell God, hey, I'm gonna hang out here and haunt this place. Give me my time to haunt here. I don't believe that. I don't believe
Right.
that. I don't believe we'd have the power to just tell the higher powers, hey, I want to haunt this area and I want to stay here as long as I want. Like that just it just sounds silly.
Right.
But so you never know. The apparition could have been, okay, son, he's on a dangerous part of the ship right during this moment with the wind. Now, what if someone wanted, let me go up there and help him, and then what are the chances of that person getting hurt? You know what I mean? Because I did think I'm connecting everything. He just happens to be on the most dangerous part of the boat,
Sure.
dangerous storm, and a natural human reaction would be, hey, come down here. Oh, he can't hear me. Let me go climb up and help him. I'm just
Right.
putting ideas out there. Because
No, that's really interesting actually, because we actually kind of share the same. I have a biblical mindset as well when it comes to death. So I don't necessarily believe in ghosts. I think to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And so if that's the case, how can you have this residual energy or whatever hanging out? So for me, like a trickster spirit, that makes a lot of sense. It makes more sense than like a ghost. That's why I didn't say it was I saw a ghost, because I don't really believe that's what I saw. But.
Oh, you know what I mean. When I say ghost, I just mean whatever these things are.
Yeah.
They're everything but a human, in my opinion. Like I said, I just can't imagine you dying and then let me pick a place to haunt, and then
right.
I'll be judged when I'm ready. God, So I just, So whatever that was, I really think it wanted someone to go up there and check on him, and probably some big accident would have happened because, like you said, you're on the top of that thing, the wind's blowing, so many things can happen. You could fall over, hit the deck, hit the water. It doesn't matter. They're both dangerous.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. Scary too.
Yeah.
Something was definitely present on that ship.
And after that, I started experiencing a few more things. I don't remember seeing anything, but a lot of I would get touched a lot by nobody.
What do you mean, like
seemingly nobody? And it happened in very specific parts of the boat. And so each compartment is separated. The living quarter, the forecastle, is separated from the main hold, and the main hold is separated from the aft cabin. Well, the heads are in the main hold. So to use it, if I was living in the forecastle, I'd have to come up the companionway, cross the deck, and then go back down into the main hold, and then go use the heads. And so I would do that all the time. And you would know if someone else, that had two heads next to each other, but you would always know if somebody else was in there with you. And it got almost comical. Like, it happens so often. I would come out of the head and I would be washing my hands, and it felt just exactly like somebody was trying to sneak by me, like from behind me, trying to scooch by and then get out the door. And it was, I could feel it like pressing on my belt almost. And of course, I'd look up in the mirror and nothing would be there. And stuff like that started happening often, like every day almost.
Did you ever see that movie, The Demeter, or something like that? It's like
which one?
It's called The Demeter or something like that. Let me see. Hold on. It's a movie that just came out, and it's about a bunch of people on the boat. Let's see, Demeter.
Huh.
Anyways, it's called the last voyage of the Demeter, and it just
I've never heard of it.
Basically, these guys are on a boat. They take a ship, take a big ship out, kind of 1700 style. And, this is a lot different, but, they ended up in the cargo. They got Dracula on board, and he wakes up and starts terrorizing everybody. But, I just thought, like, the scenarios, when you're out, like, the whole point of me saying that it's not related to, not even close, but you're just stuck on this ship in the middle of the ocean, and you can't just be like, I'm gonna get off this boat and run away. You have to put up with it until you get to some land. I think that's the scariest part, whether it's a ghost, whatever, apparition, Dracula, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're stuck on
Yeah.
that boat, man. That's the worst thing, I think.
That's true.
Being
Yeah,
stuck on,
when you're out at sea, that boat becomes your whole world. You
yeah,
know, if things start going wrong and you got to fix it, you you have what's on the boat is available to you, and that's it. And so it's a if you think about it too much when you're out at sea, being stuck on the boat, it can get to you.
exactly, absolutely.
Because you
Really,
do start to feel that like no one's coming to help. You know, no one's coming. It's dark. You know, and my brother, we did this together for a lot of years. He's actually a licensed captain, and I'm pretty sure he was actually the master at the time doing this happen. Um, I totally forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I'm sorry. He had a sticker made up, and it's called "The Sea Hates You." So
oh,
if you're ever at a bar on the West Coast, any dive bar on a marina, basically,
where at?
keep an
What?
eye out
uh,
for a black and white sticker,
Like
and it
what
says
area? What area does he put these stickers in the West Coast?
mainly dive bars. That was our thing.
Like
We
where?
put them in,
California or where?
yeah, California, Oregon, and Washington.
I was gonna say I used to live like by a bunch of dive bars. I used to live in Redondo Beach, so
Oh
I
yeah,
go to Sharky's and Patrick Malloy's and all those places.
dang, I've been to Redondo Beach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's I used to
stop
live
there.
and Hermosa Beach is right there. You have all those dive bars.
Yep.
Sangria's. I don't think Sangria is there no more. Right next door with Sharky's. That place is never gonna close down. Sharky's has been there forever. But yeah, I can definitely imagine some of those stickers at Sharky's because everybody who rides a boat or a ship is always at that spot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crazy stories right there too that I heard from people. I mean, some people supposedly say they see mermaids. They see UFOs come out of the ocean, go into the ocean. A lot of strange activity basically out in the middle of the ocean. I think
Totally.
a lot of spirits live out in the ocean because I believe all these dead bodies and whatever creatures that lived are all dead from the flood, and they're all just there in the ocean. I think there's a lot of spirits in the ocean because of the flood. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So that's just my
Yeah.
opinion. So definitely something. Definitely something's afoot in the ocean, man. I mean, a really interesting verse in the Bible I always thought about. He says God is gonna judge all the dead in the sea. I was like, what? You ever
Hmm.
heard that verse? He said I think it's in Revelations. He says he's gonna judge everybody on earth, and he's gonna judge dead in the sea. And you're like, who the heck is dead in the sea? So that's a very interesting verse that I always thought about. Huh? There's definitely some kind of spiritual nature that's connected to the ocean. When you just think about the flood, I mean, a lot of those places that got flooded, all the giants and their, the what do you call it? As they say, the kingdom of the gods, the golden age, all those places are under the ocean. All their bodies are there, so
Totally.
you never know.
Well, I mean, and think about all the cities, whole cities that have been engulfed by the ocean, and it's the ocean is a mysterious place, and it's almost. I mean, we hear about the weird stuff that goes on in the deserts, with the high spiritual activity in the deserts. It almost seems like there's the same kind of stuff going on in the ocean as well.
Oh yeah,
And I've
desert's like a wasteland too. So you don't know what it was before it became a desert. I don't believe. I believe that the geography changes. So many every time you go back so many years. So, usually a desert is a wasteland, so you don't know what it was before. It could have been green, could have been lavish. So many different
Mhm.
possibilities. I mean, the ranch I used to live on in the middle of the desert, uh, Indian pottery and arrowheads everywhere. So it was a wasteland desert, but obviously at some points people were thriving there. And I'm pretty sure the geography wasn't the same back then because where it was at, there was nothing, there's nothing there.
Yeah,
The only thing that makes sense when they were living there is that maybe there's more vegetation there or something like that, more water, because there's seashells out there too, all over the place. So who knows,
oh yeah.
or maybe
Well,
there's
I think the flood totally changed the dynamic of the face of the earth in a handful of days. I mean, I think it was, you hear people talking about billions and trillions of years on everything, that I think it was the other way around.
Yeah, I don't think it was that long ago.
I think things were formed very rapidly, and there was a lot of destruction that happened very rapidly.
Yeah, when people start saying millions and billions and billions of years ago, I just stopped listening. I just can't. I was like, dude, how do you know? How do you know
Yeah,
billions goes?
You can make anything happen given enough time.
You can't even. I can't even fathom someone knowing anything a billion years ago. How do you know something this was happening a billion years ago? How do you know there was a monkey named Lucy a billion years ago? Who? How? What? What information? Because you did a little test on the bones. That's always inaccurate. Carbon dating's been proved 1,000 times it's inaccurate, and it's just a bunch of BS, if you ask me. The evidence is a lot more simple when you just look at things for what it is. And if you don't have someone in your ear telling you, that's the wrong way to look at it, you need to look at it through the billions and trillions of your scope. Once you ignore that and you look at things for what your brain tells you, your common sense, I think that's the way things. I think that's believe it or not, it's the easiest way to understand everything is common sense.
It is.
Because when you, like you said, you read, you're reading or whatever, you see these hieroglyphs on these ancient, stones. You got these dinosaurs hanging out with natives. You got these stones that they found with humans right alongside dinosaurs, and then you show that to some liberal scientists, and they're going to tell you, oh, this is just some kind of made up story. But then when you stop and think about it, the common sense is, why would someone make this up, take their time to make a fake story about a dinosaur that they're basically drawing dinosaurs on stones that we didn't even find out what they looked like until the 1800s. Yet these stones are older than the 1800s, and they have drawings of dinosaurs that look exactly like the ones that we found. So that's it. That's the end of the story. They obviously saw them. That's the end of the story. Right. Saw them. It's on the damn stone. It's there, and it was there before we started, collecting bones in the 1800s. It's just simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the history, they want to put a timestamp on it, that millions of years. But you look at something, for instance, Easter Island, the famous Easter Island heads.
Yeah.
And now we know that those are full bodies.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're full statues, but they're all buried up to the neck. And I just can't see that being a sediment, a layer being laid on layer type of deal. That, to me, that's a lot of evidence. Well, and there's megalithic evidence all over the world of, catastrophic flood specifically.
Definitely. So, Matthew, today we're going to do a little short one. So we're coming up on the 30-minute mark. This is going to be like a little short YouTube video. Do you have anything else that you want to tell me about your experiences, or anything else that you might have forgot?
Trying to think.
You have to have
it. That's pretty much it. I mean, we were just out at sea and happened to see this guy that he was in a place he shouldn't have been, dressed in clothes he shouldn't have been dressed in. And
just thank God that you didn't go up there and be, because I could tell, I don't know you, but I could just kind of have like this sixth sense. I could tell you're a good person, and I bet you wanted to go up there and help him. I bet at one point I should go help this guy, and then thank God you didn't. You know what I mean? Because I could see.
And anybody else would have done the same. I mean, that any crew member, when you're out at sea, that's your brain kind of switches into, you're looking out for the homies, you're looking out for the crew, you're looking out for the ship, and then you look out for yourself last. It's kind of the mentality.
And that's kind of what a man does, I guess, in all situations. And, when you're on a cruise ship like that, everyone has to have each other's back, because that's all you have on there. Like I said, you can't just be like, hey, man, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah, I'm going to dip out now.
I'm going to turn this whole damn thing around just for you. No, or absolutely not. But thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. You're the first person I had as a guest to start the YouTube page. I'd done some with John Pounders, but I was a guest on his show. But I'm really glad you're on here. And, I'm going to do a show in the future, and I'm going to have you like maybe a call-in show, the idea that you had. I've been wanting to do that for a while too. and maybe have you come in and call on, tell a shorter version of it, and just put a bunch of stories together. Maybe have a whole show
Sure.
about people who had stuff at sea. I think that would be a great one. It's always creepy stuff at sea. I mean, I want to hear
Always.
someone that saw some mermaids. That's what I want
Yeah.
to
I
see.
haven't seen a mermaid, but I do believe they're out there.
Absolutely. But thank you very much. Just hang on for a second. I'm gonna close out. Just hang on tight.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Sabbath at Midnight. I'm your host, Lionel Tavares, and I want to say thank you to my guest Matthew for coming on and telling his personal story and sharing it with us. If anyone out there has any history on the Lady Washington, it's called.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, Lady Washington. If anyone has any information on that, do us a favor and look it up and see maybe this apparition has a name to it. And yeah, so anyways, also if you want to become a member, you can sign up through Buzzsprout. All the links are in the bios of our episodes. It's only $7 a month. Help the show grow, help us expand. And for right now, we're just doing members only exclusive episodes, so you get access to that. And we're gonna have T-shirts coming very soon, in 2 weeks or less. So thank you everybody for listening. God bless you, and have a good night or good morning, wherever you are around the world.
Moments of calm, nothing left to be found. A mirror running road.